like this music. Who picked it? Who picked this music? This is good. I like this. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me with Coffee with Steve. I appreciate it. As always, we like to start off the morning with some music and give us some nice, relaxed, upbeat, happy tones, because, you know, a lot of things in this world that can really draw you down, but nothing really satisfies like some good music to kind of keep you upbeat and moving. Alrighty, so let's draw this down. As much as I love that music, I gotta draw it down, gotta bring it back to earth, you know, all that good stuff. So, today, boy, Zoom has been hitting the headlines for a while. Not in a good way. I've actually known about Zoom for quite a while. Company I was at before was using it pretty regularly for meetings and meetups and stuff like that. So, let's talk today a little bit about Zoom, shall we? All right, so Zoom. You know, it's funny because I heard about Zoom at a previous place I worked at, and we never really had any grave security concerns there. But we found that it was pretty easy to use, pretty simple to use, and it was education system. So, you know, the simpler and easier it is for your beginners to use, the better, because, you know, it's an education system that we're working in. So what do you do with that's kind of really one of the big things about Zoom is it's just very easy to get in. You just install it, you click a button, it opens, it runs, and there's actually a lot of security concerns around that fact, around those things. And I thought I would talk a little bit about Zoom today and some of the security concerns, and also talk about some of the alternatives that are out there for you to use. So, I wanted to start off with this article. It was interesting. Actually, let me start off. I'm going to back up here to something that I think you guys should all be aware of, and that is this site that I like to use called All Sides. It's a pretty good like breakdown of the issues and kind of puts the correct articles in light of what their slant is. So you've got, for example, perspectives on the Sanders endorsement of Joe Biden. From the supposed center, Business Insider. Yeah, I'd say Business Insider's pretty center. Then there's the Washington Post, which I think they incorrectly label as slightly left of center. I think they're pretty far left of center, but I would agree that they're probably not as far left as like Raw Story or Huffington Post or, you know, places like that. So, like they have BBC News as center. That's not quite, I wouldn't say that that's very accurate. So some of these center ratings you might have to take with a grain of salt and realize that they're actually kind of more left. But the ones that you get from like, you know, Washington Times is slightly right of center. I'd agree with that. The Week is slightly left, and this is an opinion thing. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's probably accurate. USA Today, I don't think is very center. Reason Magazine is slightly right of center. I'd agree with that. So it does a pretty good breakdown of like articles reaching from all sides of it. But as I was going through my morning stuff, I came across this one that's not rated for technology, and that's because this is a Medium article. And Medium kind of is all over the place. They just have all sorts of people posting all sorts of things. So from left to right to center. So it's kind of hard to judge that there's anything. But at least I give all sides kudos for even including things like this. Just saying, look, we don't know. But yeah, definitely check out All Sides. And maybe I'll do a Coffee with Steve where I talk about my news sources and where I get my news, because I get asked that a lot, especially from people on the left that are like, oh, you just watch Fox News. I'm like, I haven't watched Fox News in like Oh man. Like actually seriously sat down and watched Fox News. It's been years. I might have flipped on the channel or something, but yeah, to actually like sit down and seriously watch Fox News, no, that's not it at all. So those kind of things, they kind of bother me too. Like, oh, you just get your news from Fox, and it's like, no. Anyway, so going back to this is 1-0. It's a medium, right? So there's this 1-0 article. Zoom is a nightmare, so why is everyone still using it? And will we keep using it when all of this is over? So at my company, we've had some internal discussion about this because we use Zoom for certain things, and we've had this discussion about, should we switch over? Is this going to be a concern for our clients? And I think the general consensus is, you know what, Zoom is, it's got its issues just about like any other platform you're going to go to. It's just that right now they've kind of gotten under the microscope. So a lot more people are looking at them. That doesn't mean that everything that they do is okay. It doesn't mean that they are a secure site. It just means pretty much anywhere you go, you're going to have some sort of security issues unless you're basically using like OBS directly or some sort of direct end-to-end encryption system. So Zoom has got a lot of faults to it, and I do think that it's definitely worthy of taking a second look and seeing what else is out there that you could use. But as far as like converting your entire business from off of Zoom to something else, that might be a little bit of a harder stretch for me to agree with. I think that there's good things and there's bad things, and I think Zoom is trying to address a lot of those security concerns, and sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it's just a matter of exposure in order to draw out some of the security concerns, because until you have that laser-like focus on your business, it's hard to tell where the security concerns are actually going to be. Plenty of software that's out there that has security issues that nobody even knows about because nobody's ever even thought to exploit them. And this kind of leads me to one of those funny things I always thought about. People who said, "Oh, well, buy a Mac because it's virus proof." Like, no, it's not virus proof. Macs have never been virus proof. Neither is Linux. Linux is fraught with security concerns. But like, these people that say, "Oh, buy a Mac, you'll never have a virus." Well, the problem is that Macs just simply they weren't a target-rich environment. PCs were, because that's where 90% of the user base was. So of course that's where hackers and viruses are going to be targeted, right? Because that's where the majority of the people are, especially the majority of people who probably aren't really that savvy with computers. They just buy a PC, right? So they're not going to be doing a bunch of Linux stuff. But yeah, so it's kind of silly because Macs obviously had security concerns. They always had security concerns. I always said this: if Macs were virus proof, then why does Norton make an antivirus for Mac, right? Why do they make an antivirus for Mac? So yeah, that whole notion that you can make anything just like completely security proof is insane, especially if you get once you start getting up to the really high end, like, maybe North Korea has their hackers that want to get to you. So now you have state-sponsored hacking that's going on. And, that's an enormous amount of resources and money to try to find a security concern. And you can bet that they're probably going to find something if they really, really wanted to. It's just kind of a cat and mouse game. These companies are always trying to, those hackers are always trying to find ways in, and the companies are always trying to patch those holes when they're found. So I don't really think that Zoom, if you're just trying to evaluate, should I just like get away from Zoom? If you're worried about some of the security concerns, by all means, drop Zoom. There's plenty of other alternatives. If your business is reliant upon it, you might want to consider dropping Zoom. But again, if it's going to be too big of a ordeal for you to kind of lift and replace, then don't do it. It's probably not worth the effort, and Zoom is probably, I mean, we know that they're working on those security concerns. You can bet your bottom dollar they're putting a ton of money into addressing those security issues because they've got a lot of egg on their face right now. They're very popular, and if they don't do something right away, they could be just kind of a heap on the on the backside of history here. So yeah, since the coronavirus started spreading, our little computer and phone cameras are becoming the windows of our isolation, looking into other people's lives, catching glimpses of pets, children, and spouses in the background of video calls. I find these moments deeply humanizing reminders that we are not perfect work machines, but just people trying to do the best we can. Our hair is messy, our face is poorly lit, and sometimes we leave the mic on when we go to the bathroom. Ha 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 ha. I gotta say, one other thing. Okay, Simon, thank you for putting this article up, but if you're watching or if you ever see this, the expository, we can tone that down. We're looking for the meat of the article here. And that's me speaking as a guy that basically pontificates endlessly about unnecessary things. But yeah, let's just get to the meat of this. Zoom has become synonymous with video conferencing. I would agree with that. Yeah. What is this black magic? So when I ask people why they use Zoom, I repeatedly hear the same thing. It's easy to get started, and that's kind of Zoom's thing. Even Zoom contemporaries worked out GoToMeeting when it first tried it. One click, we're in, and there were 25 feeds of participants at the same time. We're like, what is this voodoo? That's the guy from GoToMeeting. So yeah, I mean, GoToMeeting obviously was a competitor, is a competitor, but this Jim Mercer guy who worked at GoToMeeting. So yeah, it's like, okay, how did that happen? Well, the answer caused Zoom to shoot to prominence. If you don't follow security exploit news, where is it? Secretly launched software. So here we go. Last summer, Leachich discovered Zoom secretly installed software to bypass security mechanisms so it could launch with fewer clicks. This came at a cost. It was equally easy for hackers to start webcams and secretly watch users without their knowledge. Worse, the bug remained, even if the user uninstalled Zoom. Zoom's witchcraft was a deal with the devil. So there you go. And actually, it's funny because I just watched an interesting video on, oh gosh, what was it was a security encryption that they used for like really old software. Oh gosh, now I can't remember. But they were using it was I'd have to look back in my YouTube history. Hold on, because I want to pull it. I think it's a good watch. Oh, you know what? It's probably not on this one. Never mind. I'll maybe I'll post it later. But there was a gosh, I really wish I could remember. It was some sort of Russian security company that had figured out a way to essentially install special drivers onto your computers to bypass certain things, and it was impossible to get rid of them afterwards, and it was just causing all sorts of problems. They got sued out of their minds for it, and yeah. Anyway, so give sense of seriousness. Okay. Apple forced a silent update to every supported Mac in the world to remove the Zoom component. According to TechCrunch, Apple had never before taken action publicly against a known popular app. Now, again, remind you, this happened last year, right? This happened, but they did last summer, a year ago. They discovered the security thing, and Zoom basically did nothing about it, but Mac did, right? When Apple had to. So yeah, that was pretty insane. This is okay. So this is Timothy Zoom iceberg. Princeton computer science professor calls Zoom a privacy disaster, filled with creepy features that send tracking data to Facebook. Zoom's privacy policy allows it to use what it calls customer content for advertising purposes. Put into normal English, Zoom can take the video from your private calls and use it to sell ads. That's probably not what people were expecting when they contact a therapist, hold a business meeting, or have a job interview using Zoom. Yeah, that's kind of big stuff, huh? You know, I just noticed that my video is being covered up by my face on the channel. Let me move. Where is this? No, not that one. Let me move this over here. There, now my face won't be covered by... I can move over this way a little bit. No, I didn't know that. So now my face won't be covered up by that little info icon at the bottom right. That's kind of annoying. Okay, so yeah, let's see. Okay, I'm gonna move on from this article because I wanted to show you also. CNET has basically documented every security issue uncovered in the video chat app. Now, it's a little bit of a misnomer because it's not quite like there's a lot of stuff in here that has nothing to do with the security issues. A lot of it is kind of like interesting factoids about the security issues. But there is a pretty good boy, stop doing that, Steve. You're gonna make people dizzy. But it does do a pretty good rundown of a lot of the security issues that were found. So starting at the bottom and working your way up because they kind of have it reverse chronological. So motherboard investigation: Zoom iOS apps sending data to Facebook. An investigation by Motherboard revealed that Zoom's iOS app was sending user analytics data to Facebook, even for Zoom users who did not have a Facebook account. So Zoom is sending information to Facebook for people who don't have Facebook. Okay. Then on the 27th, Zoom removes Facebook data collection feature. The data collected, so this is their official stance, right? So the data collected by the Facebook SDK did not include any personal user information, but rather included data about users' devices, such as the mobile OS type and version, the device time zone, device OS, device model, and carrier, screen size, processor cores, and disk space. So, by the way, this kind of leads me to, I don't remember exactly how the quote goes or exactly who said it or anything like that, but it goes along the something lines of, if a product is free, you are the product, right? If you can use something for free, you are the product. Okay, so Facebook is a great example of that, right? Why is Facebook free? There's advertisements, like a little bit of advertisements, but when you think about the valuation of Facebook, it's a god-awful amount of money that people think Facebook is worth. But do you think they're really making that in advertisements? No. And that's why we had the whole, Senate hearings and stuff that put Mark Zuckerberg up there and, looked like a lizard drinking water. The whole thing is, like, the whole business is centered around your data, right? That's what they're selling. And now Zoom is essentially just part of that same scheme. They're sending this information to Facebook. So Facebook is no longer acquiring the data for themselves on their own platform. Instead, they're outsourcing companies like Zoom to send them the same information. Isn't that wonderful? So that's how Facebook can say, "Oh, we're not collecting user data anymore through our platform. We're not doing it anymore. We got other people to do that for us." God. Oh boy. Okay. Classroom Zoom bombings. Now this is something I find kind of funny because look, Zoom bombing is really just, I don't know, like it's just trolling, right? And of course they're going to do like ridiculous hacker things, like back in the 90s and early 2000s when hackers would take over a website. They still do this sometimes, but they would take over a website and then they'd put up some ridiculously lewd content or some sort of personal message. I don't know what. Okay. Interesting. So basically, I had a weird comment that I'm not going to show. So you've got, I hate it when I lose my train of thought. I get distracted easily. So yeah, you got these websites getting hacked all the time. Some sort of like lewd things being posted up. Was my mic high enough? Yeah, I think so. Okay. And now basically, I mean, that's going to be the consistency. Whenever you have people, they're like kids, right? They're kids that are just getting a rise out of people, right? That's all it is. It's like, haha, look at this. I can hack your website. Let me post up some porno. Like that's what they're going to do. So they're going to try to come up with the most lewd content that they can put up. Does that mean that they are in the porn industry? Does that mean because or that they're like sex addicts because they posted porn? No. So when you get these things about like, oh, somebody invaded our Zoom channel and then put up swastikas, does that mean that they're actually Nazis? Does that mean they actually aren't white supremacists? Not really. I don't think so. I think that they're just doing it because they're trying to get a rise out of you, right? They're trying to anger you. And when you go and into this depth of it, you know, of like claiming that these people are Nazis and stuff, or that it is some part of alt-right or anything like that, that you're just buying into what they're selling. And so you really shouldn't do that. It's just children being children. Okay, so classroom Zoom bombings, which could have easily have been solved. Zoom has had for the longest time the ability to password protect any conference, so I don't know why. I mean, that's really just you didn't think that this was going to happen, and then it happened, and now you want to blame Zoom because it happened. If you make a URL that's publicly available and you just hand that out and you don't secure it in any sort of way, and then somehow somebody else gets that URL and now you're mad at the company that produced that URL, what's wrong with you? That is not a security vulnerability. That is just you not locking the door to your house. Okay? Like that's not the responsibility of who built the house. Right? If there's a lock on the door, you don't use it, that's not the people who built the house's fault that you didn't lock it. Okay. Anyway, but Zoom did go and add a few additional features to try to help avoid this Zoom bombing thing. Yeah, so more bugs discovered. 2 more bugs were discovered by former NSA hacker, one of which could allow malicious actors to assume control of a Zoom user's microphone or webcam. Now, this was kind of the one that I think really hit a lot of people, struck people kind of the wrong way. Let me move this over. Oh, no, wrong way. It kind of struck people the wrong way. Yeah, that'll work. Because if I recall correctly, this one, and it doesn't say on here, but they had to actually be like physically close, like they had to have physical access to the computer in order to do it. But it was a big enough like red flag that I think that's when people started to take notice of Zoom and the security vulnerabilities when this kind of hit by the NSA hacker. So could allow malicious actors to assume control of a Zoom user's microphone or webcam and gain root access on Mac OS desktops. So yeah, gain root access on Mac OS desktops. I think that was the one. The root access, I think you had to be local. So it's probably something along the lines of, if you had Zoom installed on your computer and I went to your computer, I could gain root access to your desktop. But I had to be actually at your computer to do it. So I wouldn't need your username and password to gain root access. But the microphone and webcam one was something that could be done remotely, if I recall correctly. An investigation by the interception found that Zoom call data was being sent back to the company without end-to-end encryption. So Zoom call data was being sent back to the company, back to Zoom, without the end-to-end encryption. So you could think that you're doing end-to-end encryption with your broadcast or with your meeting, but then that data was not encrypted when it was sent back to Zoom. Okay. Currently, it is not possible to enable end-to-end encryption with Zoom video meetings, a Zoom spokesperson told The Intercept. Actually, you know what? That might be right. Maybe they didn't even have end-to-end. What was I? I don't remember ever having an end-to-end feature enabled on it. So you know what? I don't think they ever had EDE. Okay. Apologies from the creator, right? Enabling waiting rooms and password protection for all calls, and that they would freeze feature updates to address security issues in the next 90 days. So within 90 days, they're going to solve all the problems. By that time, a bunch of people are going to be probably out of their homes. Oops. So yeah, they've enabled waiting rooms, which was already a feature, but I think that might have been the pro feature, and password protection. Maybe that's what it is. I haven't used the free version of Zoom in a long time, so maybe that's what I'm thinking is that the password protection in waiting rooms were only enabled on the pro versions, but now they're making it on free. So can somebody check on that for me? That might be why, or somebody post a comment in this video and make sure of that. I thought that password protection was enabled on all of these, but if not, then okay, I retract my comment about building a house that has the lock that you don't use. Because if they don't even provide a lock, then yeah, that is bad on Zoom's part. Sorry, I've been using Zoom Pro for a long time, so that's why I didn't really know. SpaceX bans Zoom. So the SpaceX, they prohibited users from using Zoom, citing significant privacy and security concerns. A data mining feature on Zoom allowed some participants to surreptitiously. Okay, I gotta read better. Data mining features on Zoom allowed some participants to surreptitiously have access to LinkedIn profile data. Interesting. 8chan forum users had planned to hijack the Zoom calls. So more Zoom bombing. This one for a Jewish school in Philadelphia in an anti-Semitic Zoom bombing campaign. An automated tool can find Zoom meetings. Find about 100 Zoom meeting IDs in an hour, gathering information for nearly 2,400 Zoom meetings in a single day of scans. And you know what? Actually, I myself had been, until I locked down my Zoom meeting, I actually had some Russian folks that would join in. It was interesting because I would get, whenever I would have, if I was not in a meeting, but I had a meeting that was open, because one of the great things that you could do with Zoom is essentially have like a room that was open all the time. And if somebody entered, I would get an email notification that so-and-so was in your meeting. And I would get like these Russian names all the time that were entering these rooms, so I had to actually lock it down. So yeah, that's that. California, 18 of his Democratic colleagues from the House Committee on Energy and Commerce sent a letter to Yuan. Okay. Class action lawsuit against Zoom. Zoom apologizes. More Zoom raids. Zoom video call recordings left viewable on the web, which has always been one of those things that you could do. Large number of unprotected calls included discussions of personal identifiable information such as private therapy sessions, telehealth training calls, small business meetings that could discuss private company financial statements, and elementary school classes with student information exposed, the newspaper found. Well, yeah, I mean, this is one of those things. You could record a Zoom call and leave it on a page that you could then submit a link so other people could watch it. That's actually really not all that significant. Another Zoom apology. Okay, I'm trying to get to a third class action lawsuit filed. I'm trying to get to more recent here. Let's go up here. So a fourth lawsuit filed by a Zoom shareholder accused the company of having inadequate data and privacy and security measures and falsely asserting that the service was end-to-end encrypted. Zoom does not. So then, of course, we heard about Google banning Zoom, which, of course, they're going to. I mean, they have Google Meet and Hangouts. So, of course, does not meet our security standards for apps used by our employees. So, yeah, I mean, that's obviously going to happen. Singapore teachers banned from Zoom. So in Singapore, reports of obscene Zoom bombing incidents targeting students learning remotely. There's more Zoom bombings. Senate's going to drop it. Pentagon drops it. A good friend of mine who works for a state, I'm not going to say which state, but he's a security, he's basically the head of security at a state. I'm not going to say which, has told me that basically all the way up to the highest powers, they said that they're going to drop it too. 500,000 Zoom accounts sold on hacker forums. So if you have a Zoom account, you're advised to change your password and check your data breach notification. Site, it's called Have I Been Pawned or Owned, and we used to spell owned with a P. Yeah, so you should change your password and check the data breach notification site. Have I Been Pawned? Zoom call traffic had been routed through Chinese servers. Yee. Zoom call traffic had been routed through Chinese servers. So now you can say, starting on April 18th, all paying subscribers will be able to select which of the company's regional servers they would like to use to avoid it. Oh my goodness. Okay, so that's a big, pretty long rundown. I know we're going kind of long. So now I kind of want to get to what are some of the alternatives that you could use. If you are looking to jump off the Zoom bandwagon, where would you like to go? So there's a few of them that I just kind of want to point out. Obviously, Google Meet is one of those. You can use like Duo is another one. There's Jitsi, which is one that I had heard of about 2 months ago. And I haven't actually used it at all, but it looks like, and from what people tell me, it's very similar to Zoom. It has kind of a similar interface and similar features of Zoom. And the great thing is it's free. So you can just start a meeting completely free, no problem. So it's very much like Zoom in that respect as well. So I haven't actually given this one a go, but I've been hearing a lot of great things about it. So I thought I should probably mention it. Obviously, there is Skype, and I don't know how Skype came out of favor. I've used Skype before. One of the great things about Skype is the cross-platform, right? Like you can have something on your tablet, your iPhone, your iPad, your computer, your PC, your Mac, your Linux box. Like you can run Skype on pretty much anything. So why Skype isn't more popular, I don't really know. One that I just kind of want to plug here is Microsoft Teams. So if you are a Slack user, like the company I work for, we use Slack pretty regularly. Slack has, for the Pro Edition, built-in video conferencing. Teams, Microsoft Teams, the free edition, also has video conferencing. And I like Teams. Teams is really, it's a little bit more technical, I guess. It's a little less... like Slack is kind of an easy interface to work with. Teams is just a smidge, I'd say a little bit more complex, but barely. And I like Teams. I really, really like what Microsoft is doing with Teams. Now, obviously, a lot of you guys are going to be like, yeah, but that's Microsoft. So, okay, I understand. That's why I want to give you guys all sorts of different options here. Same with Skype, obviously, right? That's Microsoft. So, if you're really wanting to stay away from the Microsoft routes, then maybe Jitsi is your thing, jitsi.org. But other than that, Skype, of course, has always been out there. There's also Duo by Google. And then, of course, I really do like Microsoft Teams. So if you're looking for kind of that replacement for your business, I think, maybe your business and you're wanting to do a cheap version, Microsoft Teams is a really good thing. Like if you're looking at a small business, just kind of do this kind of thing, maybe some outreach to some of your customers that can reach out to you immediately. Microsoft Teams is a great place to go. And you can provide video. They even have backgrounds. Like you can do it Google Teams. You can do backgrounds with green screens and stuff, just like you can with Zoom. So that's, I'm all for that. Anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to give you guys today. Please leave me in your comments. Are you using Zoom? Is your company using Zoom? Are you planning on continuing to use Zoom? Are you going to move to something else? What is that something else that you're planning on moving to? So I'm kind of curious, what do you guys plan on doing? What are you guys going to be doing in the future? So give me that in your comment section below, right? In the comment section below this video. Let me know what you think. What are you going to be using instead of Zoom? Or are you going to continue to use Zoom because you think, hey, they're going to solve these problems anyway? All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me today. I hope you guys learned something from this. If you did, like I said, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel so that you can get updates regularly. Hopefully, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks so much for joining me here on Coffee with Steve.